Hi, I'm Scot Schultz from Mellanox. I'm going to talk to you about some solutions from Mellanox for Scalable HPC. Let's see. Okay. All right. So Mellanox is a leading supplier of end-to-end interconnect solutions. We design the ICs, which are very well suited for embedded systems landed on motherboard solutions. We build the adapter cards, the switches and gateways. As well as we complete the solution with the cables and modules. We also have recently announced MetroX and MetroDX solutions for long-haul Infiniband, and I'll touch on that in a few minutes. But we also provide very rich, robust host fabric software packages such as UFM, UDA for unstructured data like Hadoop, etc. Okay. So not only high-performance computing depends on Mellanox Infiniband, but also Fortune 100 businesses' success, they also depend on Mellanox Infiniband. So an example, PayPal, they recently adopted high-performance computing and integrated Infiniband technology into their back-end systems. They process financial transactions doing real-time fraud detection. Microsoft Bing Maps, they report to us a 10x higher performance improvement in accuracy, details, and a faster response time, as well a 50% CapEx reduction for Microsoft Bing. So Infiniband also enables the lowest application cost in the cloud. So Windows Azure, 90.2% cloud efficiency there, Oracle Cloud, Salesforce, companies like ProfitBricks, they see a 3x improvement in the amount of VMs that they can deploy per physical server. Companies like AtlanticNet, Orion VM, LogicWorks, etc., they all depend on Mellanox technologies today. Okay, so with the ever-increasing storage demands of high-performance computing, business data analytics, social media, connecting new devices such as the tablets and your vehicles and all kinds of appliances and whatnot. With all this new data, it's driving an astonishing rate of capacity. So Mellanox is deployed in most of the leading storage partners, storage solutions out there in the industry, such as DDN, EMC, Xyratex, etc. Okay, so deploying the world's fastest interconnect end-to-end with an RDMA capable solution is actually exceptionally easy. Mellanox continues to invest in key technologies, as well as we ensure interoperability and backwards compatibility through the generations, right? From DDR, QDR, FDR, and then with the oncoming EDR 100 gigabits a second solution, right? They'll all be interoperable. And we've done this by making a couple of strategic acquisitions with a couple of companies that you may or may not have heard of, Katura and IPtronics. So with these recent acquisitions, we will continue to prove that deploying 100 gigabits a second is going to be just as easy as 10 gigabits a second. We'll continue to deliver the highest quality copper as well as VCSEL and silicon photonics technology that will be tightly integrated into the Mellanox products. So high performance computing encompasses advanced computation over parallel processing to enable faster execution of these highly compute intensive tasks such as climate research, oil and gas, finance, biosciences, but it also demands a fairly smart and high performing interconnect fabric. Did that? So Mellanox, continues to accelerate half the world's petascale systems today. These are just some examples from the latest top 500 supercomputing list on the top 500. So deployments like LRZ, Total, AFRL, Los Alamos, NASA, et cetera, just to name a few. We continue to be, you know, pretty dominant in the top 500. Some examples of why FDR is basically, you know, the choice interconnect for not only high performance computing but also the top 500. You know, we deliver the highest return on investment. So for applications across the technical workloads like OpenFOAM, Eclipse, which does reservoir modeling, lamps, whatnot, you're always going to see more than 30+% performance over previous QDR generations. But if you take a look, you know, like with OpenFOAM, it's an open source computational fluid dynamics code. You'll see up to 180% performance improvement over just 10 gigabit Ethernet. Eclipse will demonstrate 55% performance over QDR, actually. And then 150% in performance, again, over 40 gigabit Ethernet here for lamps. See that screen. Okay, so I want to take a couple of minutes and talk to you about the ConnectIB adapter. It's our 7th generation Infiniband adapter. It is an Infiniband only device, so it's the world's fastest Infiniband adapter, reaching speeds of 100 gigabits a second, utilizing dual ports of 56 gig. We can deliver 137 million messages per second, which is a 4x higher than any other solution out there. And we also have, as DK mentioned earlier in his presentation, support for a new innovative transport called DCT. I'm not going to go into that in a great detail just due to time, but if you want to catch me at the lunch break, we can talk more about DCT and the concepts around that. Now, DK, I think earlier actually showed better numbers here than what I'm showing from a gigabytes a second, but ConnectIB delivers 12.5 gigabytes a second. I think DK showed around 12.8, so maybe we have to swap our data there, DK. But if you take a look at the competition in InfiniBand, it can only offer a fraction of throughput, right, versus the ConnectIB FDR solution. So Mellanox is going to introduce what's called a Scalable HPC Toolkit in Q1. So we'll have a beta ready in Q1. We'll be bundling, now this will be a commercially available HPC software package. It'll be completely supported, so you'll have all of the support behind it from Mellanox. We'll be bundling OpenMPI, including all of the communication libraries. So OpenMPI, libraries for SHMEM, PGAS, UPC, and then of course it's all based on CoreDirect, which is an API that's exposed and included in the Mellanox drivers from the Mellanox OFED stack. So with those CoreDirect capabilities, you get the adapter-based hardware offloads for collective operations, including the floating point capability on the adapters for data reductions. So we'll also include the MXM and FCA fabric collective offloading acceleration tools. And other tools like IPM for the integrated performance monitoring, profiling tools, and then we'll also include some benchmarks in there as well. And we'll completely support all of the protocols, so over InfiniBand, Ethernet, TCP, RoCE, etc. So look for that here in Q1. That'll be probably later on this month. Okay, so earlier I heard from DK around GPU Direct, and so there we have a new concept which is basically called Peer Direct. And Peer Direct is basically a natively supported environment for peer-to-peer communications between the Mellanox HCA adapters and the third-party devices. So think of it as quite the same concept as GPU Direct. It really is no different, except that it opens up the architecture so that any third-party device can actually take advantage of it, right? So storage controllers, GPUs, Intel Xeon Phi architecture, etc. So we still, we still support NVIDIA's GPU Direct RDMA. It's merely now a plugin that you can download, and it sits on top of the Pure Direct architecture. As I mentioned, it supports, it natively supports the MPSS communication stack from on the Intel Xeon Phi side. So now, just to clear up any confusion, Mellanox OFED 2.1 does not run on the Phi. You still need to you still need the MPSS stack from Intel, but it'll completely support natively, so there's no third-party plug-in for that particular acceleration adapter. And then, of course, we continue to support Rocky across all the Mellanox VPI adapters. So with that GPU Direct RDMA, here's some performance with MVAPITCH 2. I think DK covered these data points in his slides earlier. These are actually his slides. But you see a 67% reduction for the smaller message sizes using GPU Direct RDMA technology. And for larger message sizes, we see up to a 5x increase in bandwidth. Now, these are some initial results. So we've been working with the University of Michigan with an application called HUMD. It's a general purpose molecular dynamics simulation code, and it was actually written explicitly to be accelerated on GPUs. So with GPU Direct RDMA, the functionality here unlocks the performance between the GPU and the Infiniband adapters. And provides up to 102% performance improvement with the larger particles. If you take a look over here, and then of course for the smaller systems, we can also run. We see up to 21% performance improvement using GPU Direct RDMA here with the smaller particle sizes. So I talked about MetroX. So MetroX is a long-haul InfiniBand solution that extends RDMA over InfiniBand or Ethernet. You can go from 10 to 80 kilometers. It enables the connectivity between data centers, mega clouds. It's ideal for remote storage, and it's also an ideal solution for disaster recovery. Purdue University has several MetroX solutions deployed, and I think they state that by enabling systems across the campus with MetroX, that the problem of moving data between their data centers is not really an issue any longer, and it basically allows their researchers to work efficiently regardless of their location. So I won't cover this chart in great detail. Of course, these slides will be made available to you, but this basically shows the fundamental capability and capacities between MetroX and the MetroDX solution. So going from 1 kilometer all the way out to 80 kilometers with the 6280. And if you have any questions about this particular solution, also catch me at the break or during the lunch break, and we can talk more about MetroX. Okay, so I think that pretty much concludes my presentation. So Mellanox is the only end-to-end interconnect provider that we can provide end-to-end 40 and 56 gigabit Ethernet and InfiniBand solutions. So from the data center to Metro WAN, it doesn't, from the Metro WAN, doesn't matter what the back end is, x86, ARM, PowerPC. Mellanox is very agnostic to not only the processor and the platform, but as well as the topologies and whatnot. So we're ideally suited for not only high performance computing, but as well as for the data center and enterprise solutions. Okay, any questions?